Good afternoon, and welcome to LSR7's podcast, Sum It Up. I'm Executive Director of Public Relations, Katie Bergen, and I'm talking to you from the beautiful Summit Technology Academy studios on the Missouri Innovation Campus. Today I have some special guests with me that I'm going to introduce you to. To my left, LSR7 CFO, Steve Williams, Dr. Emily Miller, Assistant Superintendent of Operational Services, and finally, Superintendent Dr. David Buck. Dr. Buck, why don't you start us off? What are we talking about today on the podcast?
We're going to talk a little bit about the budget, but first, thank you, Katie, Steve, and Emily for joining us today. Just want to kind of give an update on where we are with this year's budget. We have good news to share. We are currently about $3.9 million in the positive compared to the same point last year. And seeing how we entered this year with a lot of unknowns, I can't thank everyone enough for the leadership and their work to make sure we do so. Now, some of that is due to federal funding. And if we back out that federal funding, we're still $500,000 up compared to the same time last year. Why I say that's significant is we've kept our programs going that have lost their revenue sources. So, for example, if you take nutrition services, BASS, and activity sports, they've lost over $4 million while still keeping their services up. And sometimes we've expanded those services with no revenue. For example, when we were virtual in the month of September and again in the month of December, BASS were providing daycare services at no cost. So that cost us money, obviously, to operate. So for us to be $500,000 up at this point is fantastic. And we have better financial news you're going to hear about in a second from some of our other guests.
That sounds like a segue for you, Steve. Can you talk to us a little bit about some positive budget news that we've received in the past couple of weeks?
You bet. We have three good things to share, basically. In addition to the $3.8 million we already have received in federal stimulus money, we've received notice that we'll be receiving another $4.5 million, hopefully within this fiscal year also, in federal monies. Second thing is that the governor has now released the $2.1 million that was withheld in July, and over the next 3 months, we should be receiving those monies also in this fiscal year, so that's a good thing. And the third thing that we've received notice of is the process of another stimulus package that's coming that hopefully will affect our 21-22 school year that is very sizable, and we're waiting to find out what that money might be for totals. So those are three good things.
Excellent. Dr. Miller, I'm going to turn to you. You know, you were leading the district when the pandemic started. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that presented some uncertainties when it came to our budget for our fiscal year 2021 and what we were looking at this time last year.
Uncertainty is a good word to start the beginning of the school year, especially when you consider all the challenges that COVID brought to us. You know, we built the budget very conservatively. We had a beginning fund balance of $62 million. We projected a deficit of $8.9 million and projected that we would end the school year at $53 million. And that was really due to a variety of factors. First and foremost, we had a commitment to some large one-time expenditures. If you remember last year, we committed to purchasing K-6 Chromebooks for elementary students. And so that invoice came due July 1st, and that was a $4 million expenditure. Second, we knew that revenues would be unpredictable. So at the end of fiscal year 20, we had $2 million of revenue withheld from the state. And then in June, the governor again announced that there will be another withhold. So that equated to another $2.1 million in withheld state revenue that equated to the district. We also knew that we would have increased expenditures. We were standing up online instruction for pre-K-12, which required extensive curriculum work, also purchasing our resources for our students. And the other thing with expenditures is purchasing PPE. You know, masks, shields, hand sanitizers, a variety of things our purchasing department made. So those were all variables that factored into that, projecting that $8.9 million deficit.
And Mr. Williams, can you tell us a little bit about some responsive actions that LSR7 took to address some of those uncertainties this year?
You bet. Actually, Dr. Buck and Dr. Miller and the administrative team did an excellent job of proactively looking at the budget and taking a 10% budget cut across all our non-salary budgets. So that was a significant factor, about $2.7 million of potential savings by doing that action. That was excellent. Actually, we're also very proactive on the frozen non-essential hiring. So we did not hire non-essential staff for this fiscal year, and that's helped a tremendous amount also.
Excellent. Dr. Buck, do you want to take this? We're kind of talking about the past and the present. Do you want to help us look toward the future? What other action steps is the district taking to promote fiscal responsibility for fiscal year 2022?
Several things. So, for example, if you think about the federal stimulus money, that's one-time money. Now, it might last a couple of years, but still not an ongoing revenue source. So we're going to try to look at our budget without that. And like I said, right now we're $500,000 to the good, and we're about to receive another $2.1 million from July withholding from the state. So we should be positive over $3 million by the time the end of the year when you take out federal dollars. With those federal dollars, we're going to look at things we can do that are one-time funds, also on how we can basically remediate the academic gap that everyone has seen. The academic gap is real across the nation, and that definitely is the case when we were virtual back in that March through May when we were learning how to do virtual. So we're happy and excited about that. As far as revenue sources, we look to be okay. So the state right now is over $1 billion more than they were this time last year. So the governor has asked for fully funding the formula. So we expect the legislators will do that. So we expect to have flat funding from the state. Locally, our assessed valuation looks like it's growing again. So we can only increase by the inflation rate. It's called the Consumer Price Index, but we'll have that about a 1 or 2% increase there. So we're okay revenue-wise for next year. And expense-wise, we're going to move our budget across just like we had it this year, and then watch to see what happens with those new federal dollars and how we can allocate that and best meet our needs for our students.
Excellent. Well, that is all for our short and sweet budget update from our podcast. Tune in for more podcasts throughout the spring, and have a great day.